Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight, Nassau Village rocked by a double homicide that left a woman and child dead. We've got the story. Scores of Atlantis employees demanding severance pay. Plus, 16 residents of Andros charged with defrauding NIB.
Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Welcome to Our News and thank you for joining us. I'm Kyle Joaquin. Top news tonight, a mother and her young daughter found shot dead in their bed early this morning in Nassau Village. The incident has left residents shaken and concerned as this is the second fatal shooting incident involving a child within a week. Bertha McDermott reports.
Police tell us shortly after 8 Monday morning they received reports of a shooting on Stark Street, Nassau Village. According to ASP Yardley Peters, the victims were found in bed. He also confirmed that the victims are a mother and child, adding that the child appears to be 10 years old while the mother is said to be in her early 30s.
Shortly after 8 a.m. today's date, police received a report of two bodies being found unresponsive at a residence on Stark Street, Nassau Village. Officers responded and confirmed that information. Emergency medical services were summoned, and on completion of their examinations, they pronounced the bodies lifeless.
According to Peters, the matter appears to be domestic in nature. This latest incident comes 1 week after 7-year-old Reyes Williams was shot and killed just one street over on Esmeralda Avenue and Alexandria Boulevard. Now, this double homicide not sitting well with residents of this area who said more needs to be done to control the crime issue in Nassau Village. Founder and president of local advocacy group Families of All Murder Victims, Candy Gibson, called for churches and urban renewal to be more involved in inner city communities.
I think now more churches need to be involved now. How the churches need to be open their doors. Not just only on Sundays, but be open so when persons have a little grievance, they could probably feel comfortable going to the church and was not talking, but they might rather feel safe talking to the pastor than talking to the church. So we have the churches open now. We can probably have them more involved. And too, like urban renewal is right down. I feel like urban renewal now, like we in the new centuries now, urban renewal now should be 24 hours. Because if something happens, you could run right to urban renewal so to say run down to East South Police Station or CDU or wherever it is.
One resident said more needs to be done to deal with the crime issue in Nassau Village.
More should be done. More. Like, there's going to be need lights, more police patrolling, more cameras. The community need to come together as one every day.
Last week, Police Commissioner Paul Rule formed a task force for the Nassau Village area following Reyes' killing. Peter says police are concerned about the number of guns in communities.
Everyone everywhere is concerned about the violence that is proliferating in our communities, but more importantly, the guns that are out there. And we consider it that it's everyone's responsibility who knows of an individual who has a firearm in their possession to report that incident to the police, because at the end of the day, the person who's aware of it could be the very one who becomes the victim of that gun. Reporting
for Our News, I'm Bertha McDermott.
Well, police today released a wanted poster for a man they'd like to question. He is 36-year-old Trayvon Stevens of Umonta Avenue. He's said to be a brown complexion, stands at 6 feet 2 inches tall, and has a slim build. Anyone with information on his whereabouts is asked to contact police at 502-9991, Crime Stoppers at 328-TIPS, or your nearest police station. In other news, over 100 Atlantis employees jammed into a Pinedale room this afternoon where they rallied against their employers and the hotel union demanding answers and their severance pay.
Bring the money!
After months of wondering when they will be able to return to work, these Atlantis employees have had it and are calling for severance pay.
Take my severance, I'm gone. I called them myself personally and told them I want my severance pay. Let me go.
You know, the union only give us about $50, maybe $100 in coupons to go to that was in March. After that, we haven't been supported by the union. We haven't heard anything much from Atlantis, which is bad.
Activist Adrian Francis led the charge at Global Ministries through Pinedale Road as the hotel employees expressed their disappointment in the representation of the Hotel Catering and Allied Workers Union. They're now planning to sue the union.
All of the monies that belongs to the union for the past 10 years, we want all of those funds to be declared unaccounted for. We want transparency from the union.
I ain't really just got at all. No.
So right now you just want your severance pay?
I just want my severance pay. I'm ready to leave.
After working at the property for over 32 years, Brenda Lee Rolls says she didn't expect things to ever get to this point. To make matters worse, she says the union, which takes $10 out of every paycheck for dues, could have done more to help. And she's not out on that limb alone.
I take everything, unemployment stuff, everything I done.
You done with a lot of
Because I don't think I was treated fair. All the years I've been there working, I can't get my money. I done.
Right now I just want my severance pay. Yeah, I think I reached a point where I could use my severance pay in the situation I'm in right now.
What has Atlantis done? Nothing. Nothing.
Atlantis has yet to announce a date for reopening since closing its doors back in March. When we reached out to Hotel Union President Darren Woods for comment, he said a clause in their union's agreement gives employees the right to make their decision to get severance pay, and that the union will ensure their rights are protected. But as far as their plans to sue the union, Woods says that's their rights as well.
I wasn't making it too good. It was real rough, and only was living on $150, $300 every 2 weeks.
But not everyone was there for severance pay. Some just wanted to be heard and wanted answers from their employer as well as the union.
They only give us $200. We've been in the union for years.
$200 since March.
Since March.
And I'm not against Atlantis. I am with Atlantis because that's the company that empowered me all of these years. But right is right and wrong is wrong.
How long have you been there?
I've been there for some 30-some years. You understand?
This Atlantis employee didn't wish to give her name, but says even if she's victimized for speaking up, she believes employees deserve better communication.
Somebody needs to say something. Somebody needs to do something. You understand? You know how long I was unable to pay a bill and buy food to put in my house? Okay? The reduction of our salary has gone to, I don't know what percentage that is. Okay? And we only wanted fair treatment. That's all we wanted.
Now, during the state of emergency, employers are exempt from meeting certain obligations under the Employment Act as it relates to redundancy as a result of continuous layoffs. Ordinarily, where an employee has been laid off for a continued period of at least 12 weeks, such layoff is deemed to be a dismissal. Thereby, the obligation to pay severance would kick in. However, that all falls away now. Atlantis had no comment on the matter today. Well, 16 residents of Andros believed to be a part of a fraud ring that saw the National Insurance Board defrauded of thousands of dollars in unemployment benefits were charged in the magistrate's court today. Georgia Bain has more.
40-year-old Dion James Dean, who was the local manager of NIB's Fresh Creek and Nicholstown office in North Andros, seen in the tan suit, was charged with over 100 fraud-related charges Monday afternoon. Magistrate Andrew Forbes charged Dean with conspiracy to commit fraud, forgery, fraud by false pretenses, falsification of accounts, money laundering, and abetment. It is alleged that between May and July, Dean, along with Takia Smith, Leroy Poitier, Ray Rigby, Tremaine Evans, Latoya Neely, Ashnik Neely, Siobhan Neely, Gary LaFleur, Quinton Ramming, Jillian Thurston, Santon Major, Kalisa Miller, Lakeisha Tucker, and Brian Cooper falsified accounts of the National Insurance Board by posting fraudulent claims for unemployment benefits in the board's V3 system, stating persons were eligible when they were not. The 14 co-accused were charged with abetment, money laundering, and fraud by false pretenses by allegedly obtaining cash from NIB's short-term benefits and assistance account. They were also charged with converting NIB checks to cash, knowing the funds to be the proceeds of crime. Dean entered not guilty pleas to all charges, as did his co-accused, with the exception of Shanton Major, seen in the blue plaid shirt, Brian Cooper, seen in the white shirt, and Quinton Ramming, seen in the black shirt, who pled guilty to conspiracy to commit fraud, money laundering, and fraud by false pretenses. According to Major, he was informed by his cousin that all he needed to do was provide his passport and NIB card. He said after he did that he received several checks totaling $4,125. He said he cashed the checks and was allowed to keep $300 in return. Cooper and Ramming reported similar stories. However, out of the $4,257.89 in checks, they were allegedly told that they were allowed to keep $500. The three men were reprimanded by Forbes, who told them that he understands that the country is experiencing economic hardships, but that is no excuse for what they did. Forbes added, if everyone thought the way they did, that we would live in a lawless society. He added that the misuse of public funds is unpatriotic, as the depletion of funds affects those who really need them. He then ordered that Major repay NIB the sum of $4,125, as well as Cooper and Ramming, who will also have to repay $4,257.89 by October 30th. Failure to repay will result in conviction on each charge and a 6-month sentence on each charge to run concurrently. As for the other defendants, they will be remanded to the Bahamas Department of Corrections until February 9th, 2021, which will mark the beginning of their trial. Reporting for Our News, I'm Georgio Bain.
Just over a year after Hurricane Dorian ravaged McLeanstown in East Grand Bahama, electricity has been restored to that community. Jasmine Brown has the story.
These were the sights and sounds greeting many McLeantown residents as they returned home on Friday. Teams of Grand Bahama Power and Light workers setting up connections to utility poles and installing meters on only a handful of occupied homes in that community. Residents like Patrice Higgs say they have had to rely on generators for nearly 13 months to power their homes.
I'm grateful today. I'm thankful. Oh, and I appreciate it so much, because when we think about the monies that we spent on fuel from Hurricane Dorian has passed, oh, it's been very devastating. But thank God today, as of today, no more fuel. So we are excited, we are grateful. This is the new day dawned for us today.
Fellow resident Cecil Leathern, whose 2-story house was flooded by more than 9 feet of water during Dorian, says he and other members of the community are even closer to getting back on their feet.
I feel like everyone right now, to me, it's like they go in full force at it now, trying to get all their homes back. So, I feel pretty good, for everyone, and most of the folks, they're pulling together, trying to get the town to come back together. So I'm pretty excited for the whole East End, I'll say. Right now, just ready to get those air conditioning going, and I'm pretty excited right now.
Higgs and Leathern were among a handful of McLeanstown residents who remained after Hurricane Dorian lashed that community. Grand Bahama Power Company Communications Manager Cleopatra Russell says before Dorian, GBPC provided power to 300 customers in East Grand Bahama. Today, she says they only provide power to 25% of that number. Despite the drop in population, Russell says the power company pushed ahead with restoring 20 miles of poles to ensure communities on the eastern end of the island get reliable electricity.
These customers would have been without power since the passing of Hurricane Dorian. Our team has worked diligently and safely to rebuild the line, bringing power all the way to the eastern end of the island so that we can prepare to go across the water into Deepwater Key and Sweetings Key.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
All right, thanks, Jasmine. More news on the way, but here's a first look at weather with meteorologist Greg Thompson. Good evening, Greg.
Thanks, Kyle. I'm meteorologist Greg Thompson with your first look at weather. Outside our studios, we have partly cloudy skies, temperature in the mid-80s, 85 degrees. It's our current temperature. Winds are out of the southeast at 5 knots, feels like temperature around 87 degrees Fahrenheit. On our satellite, high pressure remains in charge of our weather, generating some nice east to southeasterly breeze. We do have some showers popping up across the Andros and the Abaco areas. Most of those showers will be dying as the evening goes on. That is your first look at weather. Your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come, Grand Bahama Police warning sureties for bail applicants of falsifying info. Plus, gyms off to a slow reopening. Stay tuned.
Welcome to Our News, and thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight.
COVID-19 remains a serious threat.
Coronavirus COVID-19 has disrupted our economy, tourism industry, educational system, and put our healthcare facilities and professionals on high alert. Are you prepared? Do you have all the facts? Stay tuned to this network for the very latest news and information on this global pandemic.
Police on Grand Bahama sending a stern warning out to family and friends of individuals seeking bail. Superintendent Kosigan Ewing of the Criminal Investigation Department says they've noticed and have had to prosecute individuals after using false information while signing as sureties for people seeking bail. He warned that it is a crime and anyone caught can be prosecuted.
We want people to realize that the privilege of bail is the application of bail is a privilege that's afforded to those persons who are applying for bail. Therefore, the application form should be filled out with all the necessary and relevant information that is true and not false.
Superintendent Ewing says 2 Grand Bahamians recently found themselves charged in court for placing false information on bail applications. He said CID on Grand Bahama is now paying closer attention to the information being presented.
We want members of the public to be aware that word to the wise is efficient. So please do not continue this practice. Going forward, we will monitor it. And if there are any improprieties, the law will come down hard upon them.
A slow start for gyms as only 15% of their usual business has returned amid reopening. And while many are trying to beef up business, others say they won't reopen until they see the demand. Jillian Gray has more.
Despite being off to a slow start, gym owners say they are excited to be back open. With new procedures in place like markings on the floor and reduced capacity, they say they're ready to welcome back their guests.
This time around, I think people are a little bit more hesitant to come back because of the numbers. It's been slow. We have our die-hard members, of course, that have come back right away. But it's like we're having to build our clientele all over again.
I am happy to be open. A few clients are happy, but it's still moving slow. I don't expect everyone to come in at this very moment.
It had only been a year since they opened when Evolve Functional Fitness had to shut down for 7 months due to the coronavirus pandemic. Owner Tangerine Curry Denick said the company has a ways to go to recover revenue.
Bills still coming in every day. It's not easy having a pool and maintaining that on a regular business operations, but then to be shut down. So right now it's going to be a struggle to try to pull ourselves out of a hole. But I'm hopeful.
Along with the usual safety protocols, Evolve allows appointment-only gym classes to ensure those classes are small. Over at New Body Resurrection Personal Training Studio, Valek Bastian said he's only accepting a max of 3 clients per session. He's hopeful that within a month, the industry will pick up.
Once the gyms control, the bigger gyms at least, controls what's going on. The smaller gyms are easy to control. The bigger gyms are a little harder, but it could be done.
Not everyone decided to jump back into the gym. Owner of Out of the Box Fitness, Charles Johnson, says his facility won't be open until October. He lamented having to close after only being open for 10 days back in July. A recent survey of his clients told him that many aren't in a hurry to get back in a confined space as anxiety over the coronavirus is high.
People are basically concerned about the protocols, the sanitization of your facility, about working out in big classes and big groups of people, that's the social distancing, and also just basically operating without wearing masks or outdoors actually.
He said it's unfortunate that the government has not said why gyms were shut down in the first place, as it may have given insight into what they should or should not be doing now. For now, he's sticking with virtual training and said when he reopens, he'll be doing things differently.
Everything is done via an app. People have to register for class before they can come to the facility and utilize in the outdoor space for high-intensity workouts where a lot of breathing, high breathing, a lot of sweating, you can go outside. The low-intensity stuff can be inside.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Jillian Gray.
A mother of 5 is pleading for help tonight after she and her children were evicted from their apartment and left homeless on a beach. She says even after exhausting all of her options with social services, her family is still in need.
It's so hard being a mother, and it's like sometimes I feel so hopeless and I say, God.
In tears, Denise Capron pleads for help for her family. Just a few days ago, she and her children, who she preferred not to have on camera, were sitting on a bench at Saunders Beach after being evicted when Guardian Angel stepped in.
They put us in the motel, and after that, Pastor Rose came to our rescue, and every day they've been there. They've been feeding us and making sure everything was okay with us, and I thank God for that.
2 of her children are of age, 1 in hospital preparing to give birth. Her other 3 children are ages 17, 11, and 3. Prior to the pandemic, Capron had a job at a local fast food restaurant. But now, being out of a job, behind on bills, and going night to night in a motel, she's asking for some sort of help.
Only thing I said, God, we just need stability. You understand me? Like I tell people, I say, I'm not asking you to give me the fish, but teach me how to fish. You understand?
As for school prep, Capron says she can't even begin to think about it. Pastor Glenn Roll and his team at Restoration Center have been involved with taking food and assistance to Capron at the motel where her family is located for the time being. But they know the family needs more.
The stories are real. The challenges are enormous. And I know different people are appealing to government and the churches corporately because this has become a national issue. And so when you hear their stories, it's hard to not move, it's hard not to respond.
Well, they could reach me at 808-7810. They could reach out at me, or they could get Pastor Roll number, Sister Lightburn number, or anybody who, want to help. They could reach out to them and they could get to me.
It's going to be all right. You know that. It's going to be all right. Thank God for your kids.
Yes.
Still to come, prayers answered for the mother of a toddler now set to get much-needed heart surgery. Stay tuned.
Catch Gunday Kids on Saturdays at 8:30 a.m. Gunday Kids is a show about learning, interacting, and having fun. Goombay Kids is made for kids, by kids, right here in the Bahamas.
Sit back, here we go, it's a Goombay day.
Goombay Kids!
You're watching Our News. Welcome back. A young boy is set to get life-saving heart surgery just in time for his 3rd birthday. The good news comes just over a week after Our News featured his story and revealed that his family needed to raise more than $100,000 by October. Jasmine Brown reports.
We have good news in that we have reached our goal of $125,000 and Chavez can now have his surgery.
Mother of 2 Tara Saunders had tears in her eyes as she reflected on how the kindness of strangers has given her son a miracle just days before his 3rd birthday. Saunders, who appeared on Our News with her 2-year-old son Chavez Saunders 10 days ago, says they have raised the more than $120,000 they need to repair Chavez's heart. She says in a matter of days, anonymous donations started pouring in, and she and her family are forever grateful.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And we ask for your continued prayers for a successful surgery and a successful recovery.
Shortly after Chavez's birth, he was diagnosed with a congenital heart defect called double outlet right ventricle disease, and his family says it has kept him from living a normal life. At 2 years old, he only weighs 35 pounds and is often easily exhausted and out of breath. But his mom says the medical procedure that is scheduled for next week will help him live a normal life. Saunders says because of the complexity of the surgery, she and his father have opted for the surgery to be performed by doctors at the Joe DiMaggio Children's Hospital in the United States. She says the Heart Foundation helps to get the cost down.
Thanks to the Heart Foundation, the Sir Victor Sassoon Heart Foundation, and Dr. Jerome Lightborn and the team at Pediatric Specialists who have been by our side. I also want to just appeal to the public to, if they can, just support the Heart Foundation, because we have a lot of babies that are being born every day not with Chavez's condition, but with a congenital heart defect, and they also need help.
Saunders and her son are expected to fly to the United States next week, where the toddler will undergo testing before his surgery. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
All right, thanks, Jasmine. Still to come, Marcellus Hall is up next with a check on sports. Stay tuned.
Catch Gunday Kids on Saturdays at 8:30 a.m. Gunday Kids is a show about learning, interacting, and having fun. Goombay Kids is made for kids, by kids, right here in the Bahamas.
Sit back, here we go, it's a Goombay day.
Goombay Kids!
Jazz Chisholm with his best day as a Marlin and the latest from the NFL. Marcellus Hall has all that in this edition of sports.
Final day of the regular season in Major League Baseball. Jazz Chisholm on the field, making the most of that opportunity. Jazz Chisholm with his best game as a Marlin yesterday. They took on the New York Yankees in their final game of the regular season before the playoffs. Jazz starting at shortstop, driving a ball to deep center in the top of the second for a 2 RBI double. He would later come around to score. Marlins up 3-0 early. Top of the eighth, Jazz again, this time a 406-foot blast to right center field. That makes it 5-0 Marlins. That would end up being your final score. Jazz goes 2 for 4 on the day in the win. You also had a great defensive play on the field, showing off the prowess there. To the NFL, where Week 3 continued. Steelers, they beat the Texans 28-21. Eagles and Bengals finished tied at 23. 49ers crushing the Giants 36-9. Patriots, they beat the Raiders 36-20. Titans get a win over the Vikings 31-30. Browns beat Washington 34-20. Bills take down the Rams 35-32. Bears, they topped the Falcons 30-26. Panthers, they beat the Chargers 21-16. Colts over the Jets 36-7. Seahawks topping the Cowboys 38-31. Buccaneers get the win over the Broncos 28-10. The Lions, they hold off the Cardinals 26-23. And the Packers edging out the Saints in the late game 37-30. Monday Night Football comes your way this evening. A great matchup. Defending champion Kansas City Chiefs, they take on the Baltimore Ravens, both squads at 2-0. And don't forget, of course, you can still sign up for your NFL Sunday ticket package courtesy of Rev. Simply opt in if you have Trio. If not, just call a representative and they'll get you sorted out. Reporting for Our News, I'm Marcellus Hall.
And that's a look at news. We throw it back to meteorologist Greg Thompson for the extended weather forecast.
Thanks again, Kyle. I'm meteorologist Greg Thompson with your second look at weather. On our satellite, high pressure remains in charge of the area, generating some very nice conditions. We have a frontal boundary across the Florida area. We expect that to get down here sometime by midweek, and it's expected to stall. Your boating forecast for all areas tonight through tomorrow. Winds are going to be out of the east to southeast, 10 to 15 knots. Seas running 2 to 4 feet. We do have those swells, but those swells have since subsided. Now a look at your national forecast. Here's a look at your extended forecast through Saturday. That's a look at our weather. Make it a safe night, everyone.
Thank you for joining us for Our News tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Kyle Joaquin. Remember, you can catch Our News on the Go Play app. Have a good Monday evening, Bahamas.